The three had received a strange message. They were invited to a Christmas dinner on December 24th. There, seated each one on one side of the table, they could not stop looking at each other with curiosity. They were Ticci Toby, Masky and Hoddie, SLENDERMAN'S proxies. In fact, all three were convinced that the faceless man was responsible for that meeting. Who else would know where to find them? Who would dare to bring three people like them together? They had all doubted the veracity of the summons, but since none of them had anything to lose, they agreed. They entered that abandoned ship very alertly. They were armed and did not trust the others at all. After all, they had all done terrible things and were capable of anything. Their names were placed on the table, marking each one's place. Once they were seated, a voiceover over the loudspeakers invited them to read a paper with instructions. Welcome, diners. We knew you were going to spend Christmas alone, so we wanted you to have company. But don't worry, there will be excitement too. You got in, so now you won't be able to get out until we let you in. As you can see, there are 3 large fountains on the table. When we tell you, you will have to uncover each one of them. And here comes the interesting part. Some of the food is poisoned, so it's up to you to live or die. Not eating is not an option. At that moment, they looked at each other, puzzled. They were used to fighting, to resurrecting from the deepest wounds, but they had never faced something like this. It was Russian roulette, but with poison. And although they didn't say so, they began to suspect that a Slenderman was not behind the situation. Who was it then? While they were pondering the matter, the loudspeakers blared again. It is time to start with source number 1. Hoddie uncovered it, and the 3 of them looked at all the details of the meal. It looked perfectly normal. Nothing seemed to indicate that it was in bad shape. Ticci Toby went first, grabbed the spoon and poured some of the food onto his plate. Without hesitation, he put it in his mouth and swallowed. The other 2 watched him, waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. Next was Hoddie, who chopped up some of the chicken and also stuffed it into his mouth without thinking. Masky thought about it more. Behind that mask was hiding fear after a long time without feeling it. But his doubts were not pleasing the organizers of the meal, who immediately reproached him for waiting over the loudspeakers. Masky finally ate, and the 3 of them stood perfectly still. What were they to expect? Would one of them start to feel really sick? The seconds ticked by and nothing changed. They waited for about 15 minutes. Time was running slow, and they wished they had not accepted the invitation. When the 15 minutes were up, the voice encouraged them to eat from the second plate. When they lifted it, they saw that it was a multitude of vegetables. Now the 3 of them did it quickly. Better to avoid waiting and suffering. Within seconds, Ticci Toby began to cough. He was very red and could hardly breathe, and the other 2 looked at him but did not help him. They didn't know what to do. Then the voice appeared again and said, Ticci, do you want to stay for dinner or leave? He hesitated for a few seconds but chose to stay until the end. Meanwhile, the coughing did not stop and he was breathing with increasing difficulty. By the time the voice ordered them to eat from the 3rd course, he was already passed out. The other 2 now hesitated. Since nothing had happened the first time, they had hoped that it was a bad joke, but seeing Ticci like that, they knew it was real. They grabbed the spoon and began to eat. 2 minutes passed and it seemed that nothing new was happening. But the voice appeared again. Your mate has to eat. If he doesn't, you must make sure he does. Ticci Toby was unconscious, so they would have to feed him. They looked at each other and nodded, as if giving the okay to the instructions. They approached and Hoddie pulled his black mask away from his mouth as Masky stuffed food into it. At that moment, Ticci woke up and stabbed each of them as 2 men manhandled them from behind. It was a trap, and now they knew who was responsible. How would Christmas dinner end? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!